Peace and Black Power. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV House of Consciousness. I'm here with the spokesman, these two mighty brothers right here. This brother from Oklahoma who is getting ready to shock YouTube with this plethora of information that he has to bring to us. And today, this evening, we're back down here in Times Square, and I think we're gonna make this a series, brother Sankofa. You know, like I'm gonna play like the white man for a minute. Your land is my land, and as an American, so we're gonna be right down here. We're gonna do this as a series, and with that being said, I'm gonna turn the mic over to brother Sankofa.
All right, peace and Black Power. You are now rocking with the best in the conscious community when it comes to bringing you this information, all right? Baba TV, you said something that really stimulated a thought in my mind. You're gonna come down here and turn this into like a series. We could do that. You know why? Because right here in what is called the center of the universe, that is one of the nicknames or the demodiums, if you will, for Times Square, the center of the universe, all right? Now, see, because it's the center of the universe, you got a little bit of everything here. You don't always got to necessarily go everywhere to see everything. Everything everywhere comes here. So you get a little bit of everything here. So when you come down here, and this was a series, we get a chance to examine some people, the way they think, their outlook on the world, and black people that's in it. And we get to put some things in perspective without traveling the whole world. The whole world is right here. So to make this a series wouldn't be a bad thing. Also, besides this being called the center of the universe, it's also known, and historically was known as the Great White Way. Oh yes, the Great White Way. Oh yes, racial overtones, undertones, and around tones all around that. Okay? Now, because there was a time, and the reason why it was called that, there was a time when, you know, this was the Great White Way. If you wasn't white, unless you was washing dishes somewhere, or maybe a baggage handler in Port Authority, this wasn't for you. You know, you didn't get service down here. You know what I'm saying? You didn't get access to hotel accommodations. That's what I mean by service. You know what I'm saying? The Broadway district. So you have historical landmark theaters down here. Like, hold on, let me finish. Like where they have the Phantom of the Opera and things like that down here. You know what I'm saying? Where black people were not welcome, were not wanted. Okay? You couldn't even get a hotel down here. When black entertainers came down here to Times Square, which was called the Great White Way, you had to go uptown. Our hotel was the Hotel Teresa, where Malcolm X's office was on the second floor when he started the OOAU. But that was where the hotel, so Duke Ellington, you know what I'm saying, John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, all the greats from that time that were great musicians, actors, you know, entertainers of all different, you know, from all different backgrounds. Hey, peace, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Entertainers from all different fields and walks of the entertainment industry. If you were black, you couldn't come down to the Great White Way. You had to go up to Harlem, Hotel Teresa, among many others. But specifically, and in particularly, one of the major landmarks for our people was at the Hotel Teresa. Okay? So being that this is the Great White Way, with Baba TV's help, and before that lens, and with brothers like Sankofa, other soldiers like my brother right here, representing Tulsa, Oklahoma to the fullest, we're going to make this the Great Black Way. All right? It is written and it shall be done. Black Power.
Where they're so self-hatred, they hate their own so much.
New York City, Harlem World, USA.
Self-hatred though. Self-hatred. So
House of Consciousness. Baba TV. Sense of the Dawn. Mystical America in your area. For my people.
The same man that was kissing him on the lips. You understand that you're dealing with somebody that's dealing with traumatic.
Yeah, it's time.
Dealing with some kind of trauma. You're dealing with some kind of self-hatred.
I'm just trying to stay sucker free, cause all of these rappers really, they ain't nothing to me. What they speak, they ain't trying to teach. Just like I hear the same thing every day, every week. You got a million, but your thoughts is weak. You ain't teaching nothing, man, when you up in the streets. That's why I laugh at you, turn it into a massacre. Little when we revoking your past back to Africa. You pass a liar, you smoke weed to pass the fire. You niggas sucking on the white man pacifier. All I need is 100 people, don't need a choir. Turn on House of Consciousness, Baba TV always fire. You talk about your people, then they always stare at ya. This ain't no Roman motherfucker, this America. You say you rep your hood and rep it from the government. Cause every time you kill yourself, I bet they loving it. And Obama never did nothing for my brother's mamas. And Hillary, you kidding me, this shit is weak. You niggas sweeter than an Arizona tea. Stay tuned to HOK and Baba TV.
Oh man, you know, we on the war path. The war is for the hearts and minds of the people. A lot of our people are into Scientology now. I mean, you have a lot of entertainers. I mean, you had the brother Isaac Hayes, right? He was into Scientology. He was when he was doing the voice of the black chef on South Park. You know what I mean? You have other people, a lot of even white entertainers and celebrities. Scientology, you know, new age ideas or dogma and concepts for freeing the soul, separate, and it deals with a lot. There is some science in it as far as the Dianetics dynamic, where it shows you where the active mind and the reactive mind and different kind of stresses that you've been through, how you can become locked into your stressor, even though you age. Even though you go through changes, you may get a new job, you may have moved, but your situations haven't changed because there's something in the mind that has still not have been healed, therefore have not changed. So, but then Scientology, but that science is nothing new. The European didn't start that, and I'm not going to give him credit. I'm just giving you analysis that this is where they come from. That's what they use to attract you, and then Scientology is what they use to entrap you. They use the science of the mind, which is real. There is a science to the mind. There is the active, the reactive mind. There is the mind that needs to be healed. They use that to attract you, but then they use the Scientology to entrap you. What do I mean by that? Let's look at the because before you accept a message, you should consider the messenger who's bringing that message to you. Who is this messenger? What is his origin? What is his objective? Peace. Okay? What is his end-all be-all? What is his main objective, in other words? L. Ron Hubbard, a notorious racist. You know? It behooves me, and you know, sometimes when I talk to some of my brothers that I have talked with in the Nation of Islam, and I see them, and they always say, no, we don't deal with Dianetics. We don't deal with Scientology, we deal with the science of Dianetics because they can be used as a tool. And I do believe that the mind needs to be healed, but I also believe that Elijah Muhammad, one of the greatest, or the greatest reformer of black people in America, had already gave us a template of what to do to heal us. Look at the way he raised up people from the gutter, the muck and the mire of the decadence and death, the disease and destruction here in the hells of the wilderness of North America, and made them become better men, better fathers. Got them off the heroin, where he did what the treatment centers couldn't do. To it at a point then where they would wonder what was his specialty, what was his gift, what is he saying to help reform a prostitute, a criminal, a drug addict, because these are diseases. These are things that are deeply deep conditionings in the collective subconscious in the mind. And the mind, okay, the body's just a vehicle. The mind controls that vehicle called the body. What would make him change their mind and therefore change the direction? I believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a template, okay? And it showed in his work through all the reforming that he has done. You know what I'm saying? So now we have Scientology, where you have some people who are members of that movement, of the Nation of Islam. You know, and this is not to call the brothers out. What this is it's just a dialogue for the people to provoke thought by proxy of the fact that we're sparking conversation on matters that are relevant as it pertains to black people and our advancement. So therefore, nobody, yes right, nobody is above the critique, no matter how great the leadership is, no matter how great the legacy is.
Right.
Okay, we are here now in real time, so certain things we have to evaluate. We have to cross-examine, because this is about the liberation of the minds of black people, and we damn sure do need liberation. For a person like L. Ron Hubbard, and we're going to walk a little closer, come on. Did you know that L. Ron Hubbard said that the only difference between a nigger and a primate was that a primate was probably a little bit more intelligent than us? Yeah. He said that there is no possibility of reforming blacks in Africa, because he tried to bring the Scientology movement to Africa. That's right, L. Ron Hubbard, Dianetics. The book, he tried to bring the Dianetics dynamic to there, and said that these people were so debased, were so uncivilized, that they were beyond reformation.
There's just been an event here, and we'd like, their privacy. So if you
Okay, yes,
I'll
yes.
answer any
Yeah.
I'll answer any questions you want.
Okay, yes. And we come in the spirit of peace, education, and liberation of the minds.
Okay.
We come, that's what this is for. And first and foremost, my name is Brother Sankofa.
Okay.
I am the national spokesperson for a platform known as the House of Consciousness. We're worldwide, but we're based in Harlem. This is Fire Every Time, which is one of the subdivisions of the House of Consciousness. Notice we said consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness deals with the mind, being conscious or being unconscious. Dianetics deals with the science of the mind.
Okay.
We understand that there is benefits in understanding the mind, how it works, understanding what trauma does to the mind, and understanding how the mind needs healing, and how you can advance and progress and transcend certain shackles that the damage to the mind incurs. Do you believe that black people, I'm being specific, we know that all people are, but let's be specific for a minute.
Yeah.
Us as black men, let's talk about us and what we're dealing with. We know that we may have a peculiar type of psychosis or mental trauma that might, even though all people do have them, it's not playing victim, but let's categorically examine the type of trauma that we're suffering, and let's put it in perspective, and then let's evaluate. We do have a type of hypnosis, psychosis, and colonialization of the mind that has damaged us. The way we see ourselves, our worldview, okay? The way, that is a result of damage done to the mind. Does L. Ron Hubbard have a specific program to deal with the trauma for a specific peculiar institution of mental colonialization as it pertains to black people, being that he was the racist that he was?
Well, this is the thing about L. Ron Hubbard.
Yes.
He was the author of Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. And in there, it actually discovered the things that were at the root of all the problems that individuals had or have. And it doesn't matter what race, color, or creed you are. Mankind is common on those things that keep him down. And of course, for African Americans, yes, he has solutions. I mean, one of the things is I'm the public affairs director at the Harlem Church that's just opened back.
On Fifth Avenue.
The one right on 125th, between 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue. Oh yeah, it's the church and the community center right there in the heart of Harlem. And we're there for those specific reasons, to work out those traumas that you talk about, from things such as the ghost of slavery that black people deal with that no other race does deal with. But yeah, those solutions are there. It has to do with the mind, and Dianetics has the answers in there.
Wow, that was powerful, man, and I thank you for that, because it's going to lead me to the next question for the viewership, and we will be brief. And I thank you once again, brother. These dialogues help people, because we represent the voice of a part of a demographic in the community, but that might not just come down here and run into you. Might not be interested, may be totally oblivious to what you guys stand for. So for us opening the dialogue, it gives a chance for people that otherwise wouldn't hear you to say, wow, I never knew that, or I agree, or I disagree. Now, going to the psychological trauma of the mind.
Okay.
When you said specifically, now we all have, there's a common thread, pain. If you get burnt, no matter what color you are, goddamn, the fire burns.
got it.
We will also want to ask, but there is certain specific things psychologically that we deal with that other people, even in their trauma, are not dealing with. Have you ever heard of the Kenneth Clark test? Kenneth Clark in the 1950s, he did a psychological social program, social test on black people. It was called the doll test. Okay, and in the doll test, what he did when he took all the black kids, black and white kids, and he would ask the black kids, and he would have a black and a white doll. Okay, psychological damage again.
Yeah.
All right, and I want to give us an example of L. Ron Hubbard's solution to this. Okay, specifically for blacks. Which doll is pretty? He would ask a black child. Which doll is ugly, and why? The black doll, the black child would point at the white. These children know life skills. They don't know nothing about life, but they know that in their mind they're already inferior. What does this translate? What is the ominous implications to this as it relates to how they would deal with in society, or how they would be willing to acquiesce to oppression in society if they feel they're already oppressed? The point is, the black child would always say, the black doll is ugly. Kenneth Clark, why is it ugly? Because it's black. Who's the smart child? They would point at the white doll. These are babies. Why is the white doll smart? Because he's white and his eyes are blue. All of the kids, about 98% of them that were black, out of a whole bunch of kids, all had the same perspective. But white children, who their families have dealt with strife, pain, immigrants, had to come here as immigrants and stuff like that, poverty, and all kind of different wars that they've had. They've dealt with things individually, collectively as a people. But if you put a white doll in front of a white child and a black one and ask them who's pretty, even though they're people who have been through things, would that child say the black doll is superior, smarter, or more pretty? The black kid does. L. Ron Hubbard, what does he do to address that perspective of black people being that? And you can Google this, and my people that are the viewership can Google this too. When L. Ron Hubbard, racist quotes from L. Ron Hubbard about black people, and you would see what he said, how debased and unhuman we were. But Scientology and Dianetics wasn't even something for us now. Now we're in a world where things have changed a little bit. Racism hasn't changed, it has only been refined. So we don't just call you a nigger, we'll bring you in and make you my nigger. And make you bring other niggers in to be under us ideologically and acquiesce to my perspective and worldview. And go and get other slaves. Because we can't just kill you and hang you from trees now, even though they still do. But it's not politically accepted. What would you say as far as what L. Ron Hubbard, after I laid that on the table to you, okay, what does he do specifically, once again, to deal with the trauma psychologically, emotionally, culturally, and spiritually as it pertains to us? You being a black man in this, what is your stance? What is your view on that?
Well, in 1961, L. Ron Hubbard wrote a message to black people where he encouraged black people to use Dianetics and Scientology to help further their cause. This was in 1961. I'm not talking about yesterday. So he was ahead of his time. This was around the time of the Freedom Riders, okay? So this was at the height of the civil rights movement, and he was there, arm in arm with African Americans. Now, once again, I go back. You know, my church, based on his guidance, has put a church here in Harlem specifically to help blacks and browns, okay? So that's what he's done, you know, in 1961. I just want to make sure that we all know this.
That's what he's done. Doing is an action. Yeah. What he said was black people should use Dianetics. He said that in 1961. This is 2016, going on 2017. That's a long time. He didn't do it. He said they should use it. The blacks that did use it, do you see any kind of tangible change that has come as a result of us using Dianetics? Let me give you an example. In slavery, there was a book written called How to Make a Negro a Christian. Okay, written by a pastor, I forget his name, I believe it was 1856. And he said that, you know, a Christian slave was the best slave. In fact, the white man even put in his Bible, in his translation, that's right, Slaves, be good servants to your masters. So when L. Ron Hubbard would say you should use Dianetics, but before that, and I can pull it up if you want, you would see what he said about blacks, what he really felt. He felt like they could use Dianetics, you're inferior, but if you use Dianetics, just like the white Englishman or the white Protestant who had slaves said, well, nigga, you're a slave, but if you use Christianity, it would help you be a better Negro. Do you think L. Ron Hubbard could have meant that directly or indirectly in some kind of way, being that he did say black people were debased and inferior, and he did say that? Do you want to deny that he said it? Because we can pull up the records. I have his quotes.
Well, let's take a look at where all of this misinformation is really coming from. Now, you have to look at where these studies were being done at, where black people were compared to animals, and where the root of racism really came from. And if you trace it back, you're going to find it to be psychiatry, okay? And this is something that we're not for. We are open to all faiths, all religions, all creeds, and all people. This is the key. Our goal is to help all men. And I'm African American myself, so you're actually talking to a Scientologist who has been with this church for over 30 years. And I could be not more proud of my church and the founder because of what he's done to help racism worldwide.
Give us some examples of what he's done to help racism worldwide and how it's working right now. Police shootings, mass incarceration, the influx of drugs, Reaganomics. You said he said this in 1961. Oh, from 1964 on, you've seen a decline of black businesses, black successful relationships and marriage. Hold up. Before L. Ron Hubbard said that, we had more businesses. We had a more success rate in academia and a family capacity and a community capacity, okay? It wasn't until certain politically acclimated people after Oliver Brown versus the Board of Education in 1955 and the Civil Rights Act, maybe even a decade prior to that, that you started to see through integration a decline of a nation within a nation who were formerly under the Plessy and Ferguson Act of the 1800s under separate and equal, where you had, even though it was a turbulent time, racism and that, you had black people who were better off, more inventors, more creators, more stronger community values. It wasn't until 1964 you saw a stronger police presence, FFHA, the Federal Housing Association, okay? The disproportionate distribution of wealth and privilege into the white areas to help build up the suburbs, and you see a decline of black business, creativity, family structure, and value, the welfare system, Section 8. All these things came as social programs by design to destroy the black community, okay? We want to know what L. Ron Hubbard said in 1964, what was prior to that, and you said he helped that, what that did to help him, and what black people who, like yourself, who are in there, are you going out to the community who have psychological issues? The gang member is a product of the of the social engineering, but has caused him to be psychologically damaged, emotionally unstable, and spiritually unrooted. What do y'all do? You have something in Harlem, one of the oldest, strongest, historic black communities. You have a temple or a church in Harlem, as he said. Do you come outside the church and go to outreach to the youth? As there are programs geared towards specifically for that demographics whose problems of psychological damage may be different from someone somewhere else in a specific demographic. We know that everything is just not one and the same. Everything exists in layers, because when we deal with science, we deal with a high level of evaluation, consideration, observation, and therefore addressing these issues. So what specific plan of action, being that you're in Harlem, do you have for the people in Harlem to give as a template that L. Ron Hubbard has to destroy or reverse the psychological damage being done to us?
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and I want to get your card after this so we can stay in touch, because I am here, we are here. We have a church and a community center in Harlem. It's over 66,000 square feet, okay? I have over 200 staff and parishioners here to serve the community. Now, I'll just give you one example of what we have going for us right now. And the drugs are a real big problem right now. And we actually helped to fund, through the International Association of Scientologists, the largest non-governmental drug prevention program in the world. And so this K2 problem is a problem in Harlem. And so we have free information. We can get out there to the children, to the youth, to the African American, the brown and the black, everyone. Get that information to them before they start on that track. And then we have plans of action to even help them if they are in that situation.
Give me an example.
Okay, well, an example of a plan of action. Once again, working with you, working with like-minded groups. We have the collateral. We have the material, the booklets, the information. We have all that right now that our members donate, and I can give them to you for freely. I can give them freely to you for 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. What do you need? So we just need to work with the community. We're here. We're saying, come in and see for yourself what we have to offer for this community, and together we can make a better world.
So you do believe that a white man who inherently racist, and L. Ron Hubbard was, I want you to deny this. I don't really want you to. I want you to stand on what you believe in.
Okay.
But if you was to deny this, I can counter that with emphatical and empirical evidence and proof that he is. From his own primary resources, what I deal with. From the horse's mouth, I can show you not just one or two comments, a plethora of comments periodically over many different years, what he said as it pertains, which is not nothing new, which is not nothing shocking to me, considering the historicity that we have with the people. And then we understand scientific racism, we understand social Darwinism, phrenologists, craniologists, many different people had a certain kind of racist stance, especially after after the Emancipation Proclamation, when what they had as property was no longer needed, they had to come up with a narrative to say that these people were inherently violent. Scientific racism came up, and all kind of the rise of the Southern white knights and all kind of things. So, and then you got to understand that the things that we're dealing with is different, especially here. You know what I'm saying? Our psychological damage is not the same, because we're talking about a collective, but then we have to break down, because you're in a certain demographic, once again, specifically the psychological damages. Self-hatred is big in the community. Drug addiction is big in the community. We had other like the Nation of Islam, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, okay, who came and understand that black people are psychologically damaged. He wrote books like Message to the Black Man to address the psychological damage that we was there. Not only did he just write a book and give you information, he had a programs, plans of actions to show you how to become a man. Okay, to show you how to become employed, to show you what it is like to be the breadwinner and to stand up as a man to defend, to define, to develop, and then to defend that which you've created. Okay, and then when he was doing great things, owned farmland, banks, cleanesses. He was raising up drug addicts, taking drug dealers out of that lifestyle. Malcolm X is an example. He's one of the people that when he changed his life, he never went back. His system was so clean. I believe that it was in his colon was in the Smithsonian Institute, because it was one of the cleanest colons, which was reflective of the life-giving message or teachings that he had, that was given to him, that he applied. You have to apply it. Somebody didn't give it to you, but you have to apply it. He definitely applied it, and it worked. A man with an 8th grade education who went to Harvard, Yale, okay, who went to Cambridge University, Oxford, and debated scholars, and his perspective, his points that he pondered, that he brought to the table, was so eloquent, was so deep, was so impacting, that it sparked revolution, and even caused a lot of people, even in Ivy Hall's academia, to reconsider, to some extent, their perspective on black men and the teaching of Elijah Muhammad. Now, what I'm giving you is examples of not only did he have a leaflet or a newsletter or a book, he also had a plan, a program that has proven to be healing, that has proven to break the shackles. Does L. Ron Hubbard have that outside of literature and come join our movement? What if somebody doesn't want to join your movement? What do you have? The Panthers. We have Mutulu Shakur. Shout out to the Black African Pioneer Movement, who right in New York City in Lincoln Hospital in the 1970s when they abandoned Lincoln Hospital. Stopped putting money in it. Yeah, the Panthers and other community activists, the Young Lords, took over that for about 4 or 5 years and started having free healthcare services for the community. Acupuncture was one of the healthcare services that Mutulu Shakur had, okay, which is a stepfather of Tupac Shakur. Shout out, who helped people. Now, when you help that's a service to the community. You can tell people the causes of drug, you need to do this, you can take a stress test, but when you have something that tangibly helps them, and you have a program, okay, that helps to change them, that helps to heal the sickness, and gives them a sense of pride, a sense of identity. Moving forward, not only did they change, they stay changed, and they want to contribute to the change as it pertains to changing others. Do we have this example from L. Ron Hubbard's teachings as it relates to black people and the impact that it's having in the black community?
Absolutely. Well, he wrote the book on the mind, which is Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. It's been sold to over 25 million people, okay? I mean, there are people that are using what's in that book to change their lives, okay? And you don't have to join a movement to do that. You don't have to be a parishioner. Yeah, you just apply the knowledge, and many, many people are doing it. And they're doing it from all religions. There are Christians that do it. There's Muslims.
Nation of Islam.
There's the Nation of Islam. Yeah, so all people are benefiting from what he has. Now, specifically, are there people out there helping other people? Yes, we have what's called the volunteer ministers, and they're helping people worldwide. And you can Google them and see how much good they're doing worldwide. Okay?
All right.
All right.
And you said you've been a part of this for 30 years.
Over 30.
Okay. Over 30 years. Okay, that's a long time. It's a very long time. Now, in closing, I want to ask you this, and once again, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard's teachings in the black community, because they wasn't always there. 30 years ago, they wasn't in the community. I didn't see him. I didn't see him in Harlem. I know you've been a member.
Right.
The community, members of the community wasn't in there.
I was a parishioner.
But now when they're in the community, for the people, we want to know if it's an agenda or it's a program that is legitimate for change. And if it is a program for legitimate change, did the people study the dynamics of what is causing the people to be in the situation that they're in? Because this exists on many lines. Sometimes it is the people doing it or contributing and being aiders and betters of that themselves. A lot of times there's outside influences that keep that cycle going. We know that poverty, ignorance, okay, is some of the main leading causes to crime, to disease, and to decadence in a community. So I want to know, did they really do an analysis and a study on what caused the psychosis in the community? Or are they giving us a blanketed Dianetics program for something that might not specifically address the needs, the desires, and the goals that we want and we should want in our community as black people?
Well, this is one of the reasons I'm here specifically as the Director of Public Affairs. And I've actually relocated to this area because my church has committed themselves to finding out what the community needs and wants and delivering it, and using all of the knowledge base that they have within the church to do that. So a person that has been with this church for over 3 decades, that has received the benefits, someone who is African American, I feel I am qualified to come into this community and see what's needed and wanted, and to say I am here at your assistance. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to encourage people to contact me. I want to get into these conversations. This has been, really helpful for me to see your opinions and your views and see if there's some common ground where we can work together, because we need to work together because we got to solve this problem. It's getting worse every day, not better. So if not us, then who? Okay? We need to resolve this and handle this for our community. All right?
And that's powerful. I'm glad that you did say that, because when you say we need to do that and handle this, now 30 years, he's been teaching us for a very long time. We want to know, and you said you're out there, and that's good that you have that idea. that you're trying to reach out to the community. That's a great thing. It's a great and noble cause, and it's a much needed cause. So anybody that's on a level of divinity, almost prophetic, because people have deviated from helping the undesirable sectors of society. So for somebody to stand up, not just for that, but in people in general, but specifically the community in which you come from, is a powerful thing. Is there like, you know, usually when you're helping people and you have a template for help, for healing, you record this, okay? These are things that are docked. You know what I'm saying? They log this on. Why? So they can measure the level of success that they've obtained from when they started to when they ended, or where they're at now. Can we say that categorically the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard, who was a notorious racist, okay, who hated black people and said we were worse than monkeys, how his teachings have categorically helped to expose the roots of the problems, and not only expose them, but cause healing there? Do we have a template for that success as we're moving into communities such as Harlem, as we're moving into communities such as Roxbury and Boston, other former blighting areas that are becoming gentrified? Because we notice Dianetics came with gentrification in Harlem. Dianetics wasn't in Harlem when Harlem was in the crack era, when they really needed that. Dianetics came when it seemed like it was the time for it to come, and it was politically, you know what I'm saying, expedient for that to happen. So being that some people may perceive that as such, is there categorically a timeline where you can say this started then, and this is what we accomplished this much in this community, and this is why you should look into this direction for solution? Because like the Nation of Islam have categorically what they've done. They can show what they've done. Marcus Garvey movement can show what they've done. The Panther Party can show what they've done. Many other movements and groups, Asara Set, Queen Afua, have shown what they're doing in the community. The pop up in a community, okay? And it's a blanketed type of objective and agenda. We wanted to know, that's what I perceive it as, and I could be wrong. We want to know categorically, can you say what you have done specifically since you've been there in the Harlem community, besides information, and even with the information, how it has impacted change? Is that recorded? Is that something we can refer back to and look back and say, boom, this is tangible evidence of this proof that this works?
Okay, so what I have back at the community center is I have all of these statistics for you, because basically it's management by statistics. That's the only way you're going to know if what you're doing is correct or if you're not on the right track. So yeah, let me get you that information. That's another interview. Let me have some solid numbers for you, and we'll take a look at that. I will say this: we've been in the Harlem community for over 20 years. Okay, now we haven't had an over 66,000 square foot church and community center. We just opened up 2 months ago. Well, it was July 31st, 2016, and we're really seeing that this is needed right now. I mean, it was needed before, but no one can tell me we don't need it now. So I want to come up into the present and say, okay, let's see how we can tackle this now. But yeah, let's get back together. We can sit down and say, oh, this is what we've done here in this community. This is what we're gonna do. But I really, really want to look to the future and say, what are we going to do from this point forward? All right.
I always say this to people in closing. We have to ask ourselves, in the spirit of realness and in the spirit of self-preservation, which is the first law of nature, as I always say, and we know that. What is more important? The world in which our ancestors left for us to inherit, or the world that we wish to see our children or our descendants inherit from us? So it is about what we do now moving forward, but we also have to enter that threshold realistic, because we don't want to end it starting over again or continuing the stuff. We want to start over, or we want to proceed or advance. We don't want to reform a lie. We don't want to masquerade the lie under a different scheme or a mask. We want to know what isn't, and what ought to be, and why. So I look forward to further dialogues with you. I will take your information after this, and hopefully we can bring some more edification to the people on what the Christian, it's not Christian Science Monitor, that's something different. Their headquarters is in Boston too. We go in there next. But what Scientology is doing for the community, has been doing to the community, and what the future objective, because you said it's about moving forward, is. And we're going to be dialoguing and bringing this to the people live, raw, and uncut. So we thank the brother for the patience, for the humility, okay, for getting out here and doing this for the coming before the lens of Barber Fire Every Time TV. We want to know if you can look into the camera and say peace and black power to the people.
Peace and black power.
There you go. There you go, black power. Thank you, brother.